Hey, it's Mr. Allred, and I'm here to work some problems from page 174 of our book. I gave you some even and odd. We've already worked out the odd together in video, and here I'm going to go through the even after I've graded them. So, let's see what we got here. Number 2, y equals 3 minus 0.7x cubed plus 0.3x to the 7th. So this is just a series of power rules. So y prime, the derivative. Remember 3 is a constant, it goes to 0. Over here, the next one we got negative 0.7, and then when we kind of tackle the x cubed, we'll pull the 3 out front and have x squared. And the last part, 0.3, and the x to the 7th, we'll pull the 7 out front and make it x to the 6th. So in cleaning that up, you'll have negative 2.1 x squared plus 2.1 x to the 6th. Next, number 4, y equals x to the 7th plus the square root of 7 times x minus 1 over pi plus 1. I'll point some things out as I go through here, but the derivative, once again, is just a series of power rules. X to the 7th will be 7 out front, x to the 6th. A lot of people wrote down the square root of 7 times x wrong. They put the x under the square root, so they didn't really catch it. But this is a constant times x, so just a constant remains, square root of 7. And the last part over here, the fraction, there's no variable in there, so that just goes to 0. So that last part is a constant. Okay, so it goes away. So a very simple derivative there, or at least very quick. All right. Trying to get over here. Not my day. Number 6. Y equals the quantity of 2x minus 5 times the quantity of 4 minus x to the negative 1. So this is a product rule because it's two things multiplied together. You could rewrite it different ways and maybe use a different rule, but I'm going to work it as it sits as a product rule. So the u is 2x minus 5. The v is the quantity of 4 minus x to the negative 1. So derivative of u is just 2, and derivative of v is a chain rule. 4 minus x is the u, so let's kind of work this out. So the exponent comes out front, negative 1, and we'll have 4 minus x to negative 2. So we've already put u back in. We've got to multiply by the derivative of u. And the derivative of 4 minus x is negative 1. So technically when we clean that up, the v prime, the two negative ones will cancel out and just give me 4 minus x to the negative 2. So the four things that I'm putting back together, let me kind of highlight them here, are u, let's see if it takes u prime, v, and v prime. So let's put our product rule back together. Y prime equals v, that is 4 minus x to the negative 1, times u prime, which was just 2. Then it'll be plus u, 2x minus 5, times v prime, which was 4 minus x to the negative 2. So I'll go back and label all that. V, u prime, u, v prime, just for later reference. So we finished our product rule, and now we're moving on. So let's see. Having some slow things happen here. Number 8. Big old quantity of negative 1 minus cosecant divided by 2 minus theta squared over 4, and all of that is squared. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite it. And I'm going to rewrite it as y equals, I'm still going to use the big old square here, but it'll be negative 1. I'll write it as minus 1/2 cosecant of theta and minus 1/4 theta squared. And when I do that, it kind of helps me see what the coefficients are and keeps me from trying to use a quotient rule when I don't really need to. So what I have is a big old thing here squared. So we're going to do a chain rule. So what do we got? I'm going to do y prime. So we're going to take care of the power rule first. So the 2 comes out front, and then it'll be to the first, and the u will go back in, and then it'll be times a u prime, however long that might be, I'm not sure. But my u was -1 minus 1/2 cosecant theta minus 1/4 theta squared. And then the derivative of that, -1 goes to 0. -1/2 cosecant goes to, there'll be a -1/2, and then it'll be times negative cosecant cotangent. And then we'll have minus 1/2, because it'll be 2/4 theta. Now all of that will be together, and you can kind of clean that up a little bit. Let's kind of rewrite it. We got time. You don't have to rewrite it, but I'm going to take this 2, and I'm going to distribute it into the second part. I guess I can do the first part. It doesn't even really matter right now. I don't know why I want to do that. But I'm going to keep the first part, have -1 minus 1/2 cosecant theta minus 1/4 theta squared. The second part, these two negatives will cancel out, and so will the 2, so it'll be cosecant cotangent. And then the 2 will cancel out with the 1/2 out there, so minus theta. So that's a derivative. You don't have to take it that far, or you could take it further. Let's do one more for this video, and then we'll save the rest for a part 2. So number 10 is s equals 1 all over the square root of t and then -1. So the -1 is not under the square root. I will rewrite a little bit here. You don't really have to, but I will change my square root of t to the 1/2. And I'm going to use a quotient rule here. So the u is 1. And the v is t to the 1/2 minus 1. So derivative of u, derivative of 1 is 0. V, derivative of that is 1/2 t to the -1/2. And of course the minus 1 goes away in the derivative. So they're all pretty obvious here, but I've got all the parts of my quotient rule. So let's put that back together. So putting my quotient rule back together, y prime, okay. V, which was t to the 1/2 minus 1, times the derivative of u, which is 0, so that'll go away, minus u, which is 1, don't really need to write it, but then times the derivative of v, which is 1/2 t to the -1/2. And sorry, my line is crooked there, but all that will be over v squared, which will be t to the 1/2 minus 1 squared. So let's go back and label this so that you can see it. This is v u prime, even though we're going to cancel it out. And then u v prime all over v squared. So a little bit of cleanup. Let's mark that over here out too. But a little bit of cleanup gives me 1/2 t to the -1/2. Ooh, there was a negative in front of that, sorry. All over t to the 1/2 minus 1 squared. And I'll save the rest of the problems for the next video.